All right, good people. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. This is Conversations with Cornelius. I'm one of your hosts because we have so many hosts now. We're grateful for the show and for the opportunity to prepare the content that we prepare. Welcome to this word on Wednesday. Y'all already know at 12 noon, we will have Bible study here at the Ephesian Primitive Baptist Church, and also at 6 o'clock. 12 noon's Bible study, we begin the book of Acts again. Yes, and then at 6 o'clock, we will finish the Red Sea rules. All right, I'm trying my best to make sense out of the nonsense. And maybe there are times in my life where I don't even need to try to make sense out of the nonsense, because even if I make sense out of the nonsense, it won't make any sense. So we're not going to make sense out of the nonsense. Real talk. Sure, I got this stuff on the right way. I haven't put these on in so long. There we go. I forgot how this joker worked. There. We're making sense out of the nonsense. So our president, gotta love him. 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 Shouts out to all those individuals who are holding Antioch High School down. Principals, faculty, staff, stakeholders, the trauma that is ever so prevalent in that school and the life of that school. Man, it is what it is. And we've been talking with some parents of those children and hearing the stories. Oh my, that's all I can say. Without further ado, let's go on and have us a show, because it is Conversations with Cornelius, and I'm one of the hosts. Welcome to Conversations with Cornelius. I am your host, Cornelius. Today, you will be engaged, entertained, and educated. Stay tuned. You are about to be CC'd. It is Conversations with Cornelius. All right, folks. All right, folks. All right, folks. How art thou on this hump day? It's a wonderful Wednesday. On yesterday, we were able to provide some content, excuse me, at the radio station. We were able to do the pastor's roundtable. Bishop McLean had some things going on, so Pastor Romero Hopkins stood in his place. Shout out to him, and giving ABC the love that they need and support, so that, hey, that voice can be strengthened throughout the hallmark of Christendom. I am not, excuse me, I am not being selfish. I'm being sensible. Hebrews chapter 1, Luke 15. Yes, Lord Jesus. I'm telling you, Luke 15. I hope that you are practicing what you need to be practicing as it relates to, that's not what I want. Boom, boom, boom. You being sensible in this season of being sensible, because we've learned that there are some folks, Lord, they ain't got good sense. And I ain't trying to be rude or mean, but they don't have good sense. And it's something. It's something when you don't have good sense. Like, when you ain't got good sense, you ain't got good sense. And at some point, you and I need to have some good sense, y'all. And we need to be practicing having good sense, because it pays to have good sense. On yesterday, boom, let me pull this up for you lovely individuals, because I want y'all to see it. I don't believe in bootlegging. I believe in giving credit where credit is due. I think it was this one that I was looking at yesterday. We know the 15th chapter of Luke is the lost chapter. We know the 15th chapter of Luke is the lost chapter. Let me do this, because I want y'all to see this. And the more you see it, the more you understand how we're able to do what we're able to do when we're able to do it. And those things really, really, really make a big difference in the life of the church and the life of the people in which we serve. So
Let me pull this out. Boom. There we go. Let me make this larger so you can see the outline and you can see the printed text and how this coincides with the lesson that we are trying to learn. And there's a lesson. There's a lesson in it, and we need to learn our lessons. And the more the more we do what we need to do, the better the lesson is as it relates to how you and I navigate the space of being sensible and not selfish. We know sin has a pleasure. We know sin has a price. Y'all see that? Sin has a price. Sin brings about pain. But look at this point. Look at this point. Let me make this different because I want y'all to see this. Y'all have to see this the way I want you to see it, if that's okay. Boom. Let me change the background. There we go. This is why we have to be sensible and exercise judgment and discernment, because when the reality of sin sets in, sin brings shame. Sin brings suffering and sin brings sadness. Those are the things that sin brings: shame, suffering, and sadness. And I don't know about y'all, but that's a real reality. That's a real place to be in. I've been there. You've been there. We all been there. So let's not pretend like we've never been there when we understood that sin brought sadness, shame, and suffering. And we know this: the wages of sin is death and the gift of God is eternal life. So we're not doom and gloom and beating you up and beating ourselves up because of sin, because it is what it is. Here's a Jewish boy who finds himself feeding pigs. That's the shame. That's the shame of our sin. Sin will always take us to a place where we will learn that the relationship or relationships that we're in cannot reciprocate what we're giving or investing. Sin will always bring us to a place where we will recognize that the relationships that we are in cannot reciprocate what we're investing. Here he is competing with pigs, literally competing with pigs. Isn't that sad? That's shameful. That's a shameful place to be. Secondly, it brings about suffering. Not only was he competing with pigs, he had to think about the suffering part. Am I going to eat now what the pigs are eating? And I heard Yumiko Jones talk about on, I think it was yesterday on his broadcast, what are you feeding you? What is it that you're feeding you? Are you feeding something that you should not be feeding yourself, something that you should not be eating? Then thirdly and finally, it brings about sadness. He was at a place. Listen, this is the bad thing about sin in my life, in your life, in everybody's life. He was at the place in his life where he couldn't feel what people cared. He couldn't feel it. They cared for him. Yeah, they cared for him. He couldn't feel it. They wanted him home. He couldn't feel it. They missed him. He couldn't feel it. And when you get to that place in your life where you cannot feel the care and the concern from others, that's a bad place to be in. So sin brings about shame. Sin brings about suffering. Sin brings about sadness. You say, here, why are you talking about sin? Because, hey, it's something worth talking about. We've spent a lot of time doing it, and somebody needs to know, I need to correct my behavior. I need transformation. That's why I'm coming here, because my sin might not be sexual. My sin might not be social, or my sin possibly be spiritual. But here I am judging folk for sexual and social sins, where my sin, which is a spiritual sin, is just as sinful. Yeah, it's just as sinful. Yeah, it's just as sinful. It's just as sinful. Yeah, it's just as sinful. It's just as sinful. Yeah, it's just as sinful. So that's what sin brings in our life. And just like the 25th chapter of Matthew, the 25th chapter of Matthew, as we have been engaged in that study through the sermonic expression, we've learned there are these people didn't come off as utterly sinful. But guess what? They missed the opportunity to enjoy Jesus Christ because they hid, they didn't have, or they had a heart problem. As a matter of fact, there were virgins who missed it. No sexual sins. By the text, no social sins, but apparently they had a spiritual sin. The man who hid, no sexual sin, no social sin, but apparently it was some type of sin. And now the righteous, he even says in the last trilogy of this passage, the righteous said, when? Where was the sexual sin? Not mentioned. Where's the social sin? Not mentioned. Where's even the spiritual sin? It's not so much mentioned, but he said, when you failed to do it to the least of them, you failed to do it unto me. So I don't want this season to be a season where I miss the opportunity to reflect the presence of God in my life and others because I'm hiding something, because I don't have something, or because I don't recognize the event that God is creating in my life in that moment so I can be more like him. Just being honest. Just being honest. I don't know about you, but I'm just being honest. And it's so easy to get caught up in doing the work that you forget to do the work. So let that not be your sin as we move forward. Switching gears. As we switch gears, we want to play our advertisements and the people who support us, and we'll come back. This show is brought to you by Walker's Cafe and Grill, 109 UN Drive from 12 to 5. This show is brought to you by the Ephesian Primitive Baptist Church, 1506 22nd Avenue North, Nashville, Tennessee. This show is brought to you by Forever Zion. That's www.foreverzion.com. Paparazzi Jewelry for your boo, your bae, your significant, your subordinate, your cousin, and them. Your friend, your enemy, your frenemy. Go to www.foreverzion.com. This show is brought to you by Trifold Outreach Ministries. That's Trifold Outreach Ministries, 49 Dry Creek Road, Goodlettsville, Tennessee. Thank you for our wonderful sponsors. Thank you for our sponsors who help make this show what it's supposed to be. And if you would like to sow into the show, I will give you opportunity to do so. If you have Givelify, you can go to your Givelify app, go to the church, type in Capri Cares. I promise you, any of this doesn't go to me. It goes to the ministry here that supports us getting therapy and mental health and all those other services. So thank you for that. Money. Let's talk about money for a minute, because guess what? It's something that we want a lot of. Yes. And it's good to have it. I mean, honestly, I like having money. I like having fresh money. I like having new money, and I like having lots of money. Who doesn't like having new money? Who doesn't like having fresh money? And who doesn't like to have lots of money? I mean, just be honest. For those of us who like money and have a healthy relationship with money. And Monique, is it Smith Bayless or Bayless Smith? I follow her. We met at the gym and we talked, and we did a podcast eons ago just about money and the relationship that we need to have with money as people. And guess what? We need to be teaching our children to have healthy relationships with money and invest their money wisely. So on this money talk, we talk ministry. Let's talk money for a minute. Jesus talked about money more than he talked about heaven. Yes, he did. He did. Literally, Jesus talked about money more than he talked about heaven or resources. He did. So you and I must learn to invest our money wisely. So I want all of those listening to me to make sure, if nothing else, start some type of investment for yourself or your children, your children's children this year. Let 2025 be the year where you are going to invest your money, and your money is going to make money for you when you're listen, I say it this way. Let your money work for you when you're not working for it. Hey, and remember to confess, I stand under an open heaven and will receive everything God has for me at least 18 times a day. On yesterday, as we were sharing in the podcast, I was sharing with Romero and Ron on the broadcast podcast where I got 18 from. I actually got 18 from social media, from a rapper. I can't even remember which was it. Lil Durk. It was one of them. And then I was reading in Manners and Customs about the Jewish lifestyle, how the Shema and the prayers that they had to pray, they prayed them 18 times a day. They had 6 prayers that they prayed. Yeah, 3 times, 6 prayers they pray. I think 3 times a day was, 6 times 3 is 18. And they had memorized those prayers. And that's what kept them grounded and focused, because they prayed or made that affirmation at least 18 times a day. Now, as a Christian, and my religion comes from Judaism, at some point I must learn that principle if I want to practice his presence. So I need to be saying something 18 times a day. And the thing that I want to be saying 18 times a day, the whole year, not just for 40 days. Money work for me just as hard as I work for you. I want my money to work for me just as hard as I work for it. Does that make any sense? Honestly. So let's talk. Remember, 3 minutes a day, we want to have a money talk with ourselves or a significant other or a person. Let's just have a money talk. Let's have a money talk. Let's talk about money, where I need to cut, where I need to diversify. Let's just talk money and get in some stocks and bonds and trades. And for those of us who do all those other things, let your money work for you. Let your money, and I tell my money, and I used to say it, and I'm going back to this confessional on Sunday morning. Money work for me just as hard as I work for you. All right, we've talked ministry, we talked money. Let's talk mainstream. It's only a weekend, y'all. Only a weekend. And our boy. He's up. He's up. And it looks like he's not going to ease up, y'all. He's not going to ease up. So now that I know he's not going to ease up, let me be sensible. If he's not going to ease up, let me pray harder. Let me get laser focused on my goals, my ambitions, my objectives, the things that drive me, my focus, so that I will not get off track by the tyranny, all I'm going to say, of and the backlash. It's so much. I don't know what to call it. You tell me what to call it. Yeah. All right. Mainstream. We know it's not going to get easier. I don't think he's going to let up, and that's okay. That's okay. That's really okay. Talk money, talk ministry. Now let's talk motivation. Your mental health. Where are you in your emotional health? Remember, where your where your emotions are, that's where your spirit is. And wherever you are emotionally, that's where you are spiritually. So what are you doing to strengthen your mind and strengthen your emotions? How are you checking in with you? As a matter of fact, as you're listening to this, check in. Red heart, blue heart. And if you're not feeling good, put a black heart. I got a red heart, blue heart. Just put some colors in there to demonstrate and to tell you that you're feeling better. Grief, bereavement, death, Things are happening at rapid pace. And sometimes we get numb, and numb is never a good place to be in. So check in. And then also, as you're checking in, go to New York Times or download Wordle, New York Times games on your phone. Do Wordle and connections with me. I promise you, it's helping me mentally. I'm using my mind. Play a game of chess. Play a game of checkers. Play a game of Uno. Play a game. If you can play spades without going off, do something to strengthen your mind and strengthen your social skills. Please do that. Well, y'all, thank y'all for tuning in on this hump day. It's been me, Cornelius. I'm one of your hosts. I have people coming on. I have guests coming on. You can follow me on the Yak as well. A lot is happening in the life of the church. We're grateful for that. We're starting our new SHAPE curriculum. Here it is. I'm grateful for it. This is a whole new Sunday school class. What is your SHAPE? SHAPE is an acronym for your spiritual gifts, your heart, your abilities, personality, and experiences. Can't wait to get in the SHAPE class. On this wonderful Wednesday, I apologize. Let's get over the hump. See y'all at 12 noon for Bible study and 6. It's Conversation with Cornelius. I'm your host, Cornelius, and peace and blessings.